Welcome to round 2 of the Candidates Forum. These are our 3 Republican candidates for the Lake County State's Attorney's Office. We've got Mike Nerheim, Louise Hayes, and Bryan Winter here tonight. We will follow the same format as we did earlier tonight for the Senate candidates. All right? Again, remember, this is being sponsored by the Antioch and Lakeville Township Republican Clubs. Steve Bishop reminded me, if anybody's interested in joining one of the Republican clubs, see any of us afterwards. We'd love to have you. All right, without further ado, we will start with the 3-minute opening. And if you gentlemen don't mind, let's do ladies first. So, Louise, you're up.
How it always is. It's great. Thanks so much, Don. Thank you very much. That is sort of a good thing. I always get to go first. These gentlemen are nice enough to let me go first. I'm Louise Hayes, and I'm running for Lake County State's Attorney. I was hired by Fred Foreman in 1990. I've been working in the State's Attorney's Office ever since. Most of the attorneys start off in the traffic division and they move their way through the office, which is exactly what I've done. In the last 7 to 10 years, I've had the opportunity to do a lot of different things in the office. Extradite murderers back to Mexico. I work in 2 of our specialty courtrooms, the mental health courtroom, the veterans courtroom, and I run our grand jury. Without really giving you the minutia of what I do in the office, I just want to emphasize that I am the only career prosecutor that's on this ticket. I'm very familiar with how the office runs, and I know the office inside and out, and I am confident that I am the person that can bring the change that our office needs. I know exactly what our problems are, and I know how I'm going to be able to fix them. On a note, I'm not a career politician. I have been a career prosecutor. I have spent my days being the public servant, prosecuting the criminals and protecting the victims' rights here in Lake County. I've been endorsed by, most recently, the Waukegan Police Department, Zion Police Department, Lake Forest Police Department. And what that tells you is that I've worked with these officers who patrol your neighborhoods, who are protecting us. For 20 years I've worked with them. They know the kind of prosecutor I am, and they know the integrity that I have. I've garnered a lot of support throughout the county. I'm confident that if I'm chosen by the people in Lake County to be the representative for the Lake County State's Attorney on the Republican ticket, that I will have the financial support and the voting support to beat the Democratic candidate. I am more than happy to answer any questions that you have about our office, keeping in mind that I really don't want to talk about pending cases since I am an assistant state's attorney. Thank you so much.
Mike?
I'm Mike Nerheim, and I'm running for state's attorney. I'm running because I have, I believe, the most relevant experience for this office. I worked for Mike Waller. I started my career in his office, where I worked through all the criminal divisions of the state's attorney's office. I've tried murder cases, I've tried rape cases, I've tried traffic cases. I've handled hundreds of jury trials on behalf of the people of this county. I've also been in private practice. I've handled cases as a defense attorney. I bring a balanced approach, a balanced perspective to the office, having handled cases both as a prosecutor and a defense attorney. I think it is imperative, if you are running for this office, that you have spent time working in this office. You have to know what the people that you are going to lead go through on a daily basis. I've walked in their shoes, but I've done more than that. I've handled civil cases, I've handled municipal cases. I'm a teen court judge in Gurnee. I'm on faculty at Columbia College of Missouri, where I teach evidence and DNA. I'm a proud father of 3, lifelong resident of Lake County. I see the job of state's attorney as the chief law enforcement officer for the county. And I'm running because that is the best way for me to keep our streets safe for my family and for yours. Thank you.
Bryan.
Thank you, and as luck would have it, this is the way we appear on the ballot. I'm the last name. Again, my name is Bryan Winter, and I'd like to tell you a little bit about me for those of you who do not know me. I also grew up here in Lake County, and I went off to college, went to Marquette, got a accounting degree, and then also got my law degree there. Came back and took the bar exam, passed the bar exam, and then started working for the law firm of Winter & Stiles. And I've worked there for 27 years now, and our office is directly across the street from the courthouse. And our firm, during that 27 years, and we've been really in existence since 1919, we've always done a wide variety of cases. And with respect to assessing the candidates, the aspects that I can tell you, three major points are, one, of all the candidates, and that's including the Democratic candidates as well as the Republican candidates, I have the most legal experience of all 6 candidates. There's also 3 in the Democratic Party. So for 27 years, I've been practicing full-time as an attorney here in Lake County. The second point is I have the most diverse practice. I started out, our firm always did some municipal work, and so I had the opportunity to serve as a local prosecutor, but our firm also represented corporations, individuals, and as a result, I had an opportunity to handle personal injury cases, handle cases that involve defending municipalities against civil rights actions, even been involved in medical malpractice cases, which are very complicated. There's often many medical experts that have to be deposed and presented for those types of cases. And that's very important because the position that we're seeking is the Chief Legal Officer for the county. The office has 140 employees. It has a budget of $13 million and slightly over that. And it is an administrative position where you have to be able to handle all the legal matters that come before the village. The third point is leadership. I was the past president 3 years ago of the Lake County Bar Association. Before that, I was the treasurer of the Illinois State Bar Association. That's the largest group in the state of Illinois. And currently, I'm also the village attorney for Gurnee, the largest village in the county, and also the village attorney for Kildare. And so I've had the opportunity to handle all the legal matters that come before the village, whether it's collective bargaining, whether it's a FOIA question, whether it's the Open Meetings Act. I've actually handled those matters. And so there is a distinction between book knowledge and actually handling all the legal matters that you'll have to encounter and handle as the state's attorney. Thank you.
All right, candidates, we're going to go with questions from the audience. You'll each get 2 minutes. Whoever gets to answer the question first will get a 1-minute final rebuttal after all 3 candidates have answered. Bryan, we'll start with you. This is a pretty generic question, but probably a very important one. What is the role of the state's attorney?
As I just said, it's multifaceted. In terms of probably about 50 of the assistants are handling traffic matters, misdemeanor matters, and then felony matters. And so basically, when criminal activity occurs, the local law enforcement agencies will do the investigation. And then they turn that investigation over to the state's attorney's office, and then the state's attorney's office will handle it from that point forward if it involves a state offense or it involves something with the sheriff's office. In addition to that, there is a civil division, and that's essentially you are the chief legal officer for the county. The county board, you're representing the county board and all the subsidiary departments, and so that's a big job. So it is a very important job, and certainly all the candidates agree with that. And as far as the state's attorney is concerned, that person has the ultimate authority to make sure that all the legal matters are being handled by the office. Thank you.
There is an administrative component to the job of the state's attorney. I believe that the people demand and deserve more than merely an administrator. You are first and foremost, as the state's attorney, a prosecutor. Your job is to represent the people of this county when crimes are committed against them. Your job is to go to court, to lead by example. leader of the state's attorney's office, every single charging document, every warrant, every arrest warrant, every search warrant, every charging document has your name on it. You prosecute all the cases through your assistants. But again, it's more than merely an administrator. You are first and foremost a prosecutor.
Well, I probably agree with both of them, but clearly I think what Mike said is very apparent. First and foremost, you are the county prosecutor, and that is what I do. So for me, you are the prosecutor. That's what you do. You are protecting the victim's rights, and that you are making sure that justice is being sought. I cannot underestimate or understate the importance of the state's attorney being a decision maker. It is a huge job. There are 145 people in our office, 70 attorneys, 60 of which do criminal, 10 of them do civil, and we hire outside counsel. And as far as leading by example, being administrative, that you are, at the end of the day, you're the top prosecutor, and you are the ultimate decision maker. And as part of my job, working in that office has been making decisions. Thank you.
Bryan Winter.
I agree with everything that's said. I'd also point out that even though I focused on the administration aspect, I can tell you during the 27 years that I've practiced, I've always been a litigator. I've tried cases all the time. Most of those are in the civil arena. Last year I had a 10-day case in front of Judge Hoffman where we were essentially, and I don't know the experience of all the people running in this race, but for instance, in civil cases, you take depositions. I've taken over 1,500 depositions in handling different cases. A big client of our firm was Illinois Bell. Today it's AT&T, where I've handled hundreds of cases in court for them. And so, obviously, as an attorney, that is an important component, and that's something that I'm capable of doing, that I have done throughout my entire career. I have not been an administrative attorney. I have been a trial attorney during that time period, and I certainly understand the issues with prosecution.
Okay, next question will lead off with Mike. What can the state's attorney do to address illegal immigration in Illinois?
I think it's important that the state's attorney cooperate with the federal authorities. We have issues now where our sheriff has decided not to do that in all cases, and I think when you have illegal immigrants that come to this country and commit crimes, very serious felony crimes, they need to be prosecuted, they need to be sentenced, they need to serve that sentence, and then they need to be deported. And it's imperative that the state's attorney and the county and local law enforcement cooperate with ICE, Immigration Custom Enforcement, and help them do their job. I have a friend that's an immigration agent, and they had to recently change their badges from immigration to Homeland Security, because when they would go into local police departments to do their job, they were paid no attention. They weren't given any respect. These same agents with the same badge, same job, when it says Homeland Security, they're allowed to do their job. That's shameful. We need to support them, and we need to enforce our laws, and also enforce help the federal authorities enforce the immigration laws.
Louise?
I'm in total agreement as a prosecutor. If you're an illegal immigrant, if you are breaking the law, we are going to prosecute you, sentence you, send you to jail, and send you on your way. I'm in total agreement with Mike, although the sheriff might have a different opinion. Right now, our office works well with ICE, and a lot of the different departments, including Waukegan, have representatives that work through ICE. But my opinion and my stance is that if you are illegal, we're prosecuting you. And as a prosecutor, that is the one thing that you stand by.
Bryan?
I also agree, and really the integrity of the office and making sure that our laws are enforced is paramount. And so more recently, there's been some issues as to whether holds are being placed on defendants or people that have been arrested, and there's been some notoriety down in Cook County. I can assure you that even though national immigration law is decided at a national level, it has to be enforced. And that is the problem that is confronting so many states and communities, is that we have laws that there is not adequate enforcement, and I would pledge that we will enforce the law. Thank you.
Would you like an additional minute?
I don't need it. Let's see if that's work.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Louise, you're up first on this question. How can you improve the performance of the current state's attorney or the state's attorney's office? What would you do to improve the performance?
I definitely am planning on bringing a new culture to the office. We are in need of change, and I think that is very apparent. Some of the things that I think we can do, from promoting the best attorneys that we have, and instead of promoting someone on the tenure that they have in the office, we're going to focus on the best attorneys being promoted, not perhaps who you know or how long you've been in the office. There are a number of other changes that I've outlined that I would bring to the office because I think that we need change. I've said, and I said last July before these problems surfaced, we are going to implement a post-conviction review board. We are going to beef up the cybercrime division, and I'm going to do those two things by reallocating resources that we have in our office. And as I stated, because I work in our office, I know the departments that has extra hands that can help and be reallocated to these important divisions. And that sort of answered the question, I think. All right, thank you so much.
Bryan.
What I always tell people is that success is never final. Even though we have a good office and good people, you have to make sure you're reevaluating the strategies and procedures that are in the office. The one advantage I have is working with large legal departments such as AT&T and large law firms. I've had the opportunity to serve as local counsel for two very large Washington, D.C. firms. In fact, I had a all-morning argument this morning for one of those cases. I know the metrics and I know the procedures that can be brought to this office. And I also have the advantage, because I'm not in this office right now, I can bring a fresh approach, that I don't have any allegiances with anyone in that office. In fact, my campaign won't accept any money or help from people that are currently in that office. Because I think it's important, A, for them to focus on their work and not be worried about the elective process. But secondly, so that it is possible to come into that office and to continue what always goes on, but again, something that has to continue, and that is reevaluate how the office is handling its procedural aspects. I can talk of a couple specific areas. I know sometimes police officers are concerned, how long does it take to get a warrant? I know witnesses are concerned, how long will it take before I hit the witness stand, or I've got a subpoena, do I have to put my life on hold for an entire week? There are ways that we can streamline those processes and make the office work more efficiently. Thank you.
Left-handed, so I have to keep switching the mic around. I agree with Louise, and luckily, the state's attorney's office is currently staffed, I believe, by some of the finest prosecutors in this state. And I know, because I go against them every day in court. I am primarily a defense attorney, so if any of the candidates is in a better position to judge the performance of the current state's attorney's office and the state's attorneys, and to know what resources have to be reallocated, it's me. Because again, I see them every day as an adversary, and in my practice, I am in all the different courtrooms of that county building every day. I start in the traffic court, I'm in misdemeanor court, I'm in felony court. I agree with Louise that the promotional structure in that office needs to change. Currently, it's based primarily on seniority. And the state's attorney's office has several divisions. Most prosecutors start in traffic. They go to misdemeanor, felony review, juvenile and drugs, and finally felony. I see a situation where prosecutors are rotated throughout those divisions. So the young prosecutors and the experienced prosecutors are working side by side in all the different divisions of the office, moving more frequently so they don't become stagnant. We would have a mentoring program where prosecutors, again, in all the different divisions are working together, which will improve, I think, dramatically the morale and the efficiency of that office.
Louise, would you like another minute to rebut? Okay, thank you. All right, so let's see, Bryan, you're up next. As all of you have declared yourself as a Republican candidate, tell us about your involvement in the party. Who else have you helped in the Republican Party? Whose campaigns have you worked on, et cetera?
I started my career at 7. Actually, my dad was a Republican precinct committeeman in Waukegan Township, and so when I was 7, I have a distinct memory of him coming after literature distribution night and placing everything around our big dining room table, and I got to stuff all the packets that he was going to deliver. And then I also tell people, it wasn't until junior high that I realized my dad was pretty smart and he made the right choice. Because I actually started to understand the political process, and certainly this is a big issue because in this general election, that other party is really going to come after this office. And you have to have an appreciation of that elective process. When I came back from Marquette, I did get involved in the Republican Party. Actually, in 2004 to 2006, I was the chairman of Warren Township Republican Club, and we had a good rivalry with other townships trying to get the last Republican president we had elected. And I continued being involved in the Republican organization. And again, I think it's very important that we understand that this office has to stay in the hands of the Republican Party. And the reason for that is that the other party really has a lot of pressures placed upon them from different special interest groups. And so I can assure you that I understand what the Republican Party stands for. Thank you.
Mike?
I'm proud of my heritage as a Republican. I've grown up in a family business, a small business. I have those Republican values. I've always had them. My campaign work for local Republicans has always been sort of boots on the ground. I've walked in parades, I've knocked on doors, I've gone out and pounded signs. I've spent my years practicing law, raising a family, but in my spare time, I have supported a lot of the local judicial candidates, and most recently, I'm proud of my support for Mike Waller. I think I was one of very few defense attorneys walking in parades for Mike Waller through Zion as we were all being booed in the last election by the Zionites, but I was proud to stand with him, and I'm proud of my party.
I think I have a very similar take on this as Mike does. Same thing, raised a Republican from a Republican family. My husband actually runs a small business. Done the same kind of thing in my local area, helped support some of the local candidates, walked in parades, did the same for Mike Waller as well as my brother who ran for office. I've been involved a little bit with the Lake County Young Federation, those kinds of organizations. I think at the end of the day, the prosecutor has to be very careful that we are prosecuting people for the crimes that they have committed, and not who they know or what party that they belong to. So, although I would say that I'm a staunch Republican, that will not get in the way of me doing my job as a prosecutor. Thank you.
Mike, you're up first for this question. As state's attorney, how will you protect victims' rights?
I've had a lot of contact lately from victims that have had cases in the court system that they were very unhappy, quite frankly, with how they were treated in the system and how their cases were handled. I think it's very important that the state's attorney and the assistant state's attorneys listen to victims. The job of the state's attorney is to represent the people of the state of Illinois. When you go to court in a criminal case, the victim is there as a party to that case. And I've prosecuted many cases with victims. I know what it's like to sit with a murder victim's family into the night waiting for a jury verdict to come back. I've worked with rape cases. I've worked with victims of all sorts. So I'm very sensitive to their concerns and to their needs. And what they want is they want to be listened to. You as the state's attorney, you as the prosecutor are not necessarily their attorney, but your job is to listen to them. I am a supporter of the Victims' Bill of Rights. I think that should be the interesting thing about the Victims' Bill of Rights is it's really suggestive. There's really no enforcement. And I think victims need more of a voice. They need more of a say. And any crime in Lake County involving a victim will not be disposed of unless the victim has had the opportunity to give their voice and their opinion as to what should happen with that case.
Louise.
Yes, every time we stand up, we say our case, and we are the people, we represent the people of the state of Illinois. And as I tell you, that is what I have been doing for 20 years. In our office, we have victim witness counselors. And what those individuals do is that they work with the attorneys on every case where we have a victim, so that we ensure that we are talking with our victims. We advise them of working through the process, the legal process that they might not be fully aware of. The victim counselor might take them to court. We prep our kid witnesses. There are a lot of things that our office does. We reach out. We're currently doing sexual assault training to all our local police departments. I was just at Gurney a couple weeks ago. Really engaging law enforcement and helping us sometimes if they're the first responders at a rape scene or at a murder, and talking with families that are involved in our cases. So I am an advocate of the things that we already do in our office, and I definitely think that there are ways to improve some of those, but representing the people of the state of Illinois, it is our job to protect the victims. And what I'm telling you is that our office works very diligently in working with victims.
I agree. Obviously, the office does have a very developed plan, but I can tell you that when I represent my villages, I'm dealing with people that are making decisions. You have to be very careful to make sure that they understand the legal process. What happens oftentimes is, they might catch a TV show and have impressions as to what the law is, but it is very important that is explained. And so what happens, and what can happen, is even though you have a program, you have to measure the success. And there's no question Lake County has a good program. But you always have to go back and make sure, and the complaints I've heard, it's been a breakdown in terms of understanding where the victim was having difficulty in understanding the process. And once, information is power, knowledge is power. You have to make sure that they understand the entire process, that you're patient enough to explain that to them, and then confirm with them that they understand what's going on. And then again, making sure that the office is updating victims as to the process. A lot of times it will take months for a case to be concluded, and as a result, there is opportunity to lose touch with that victim. You've got to make sure that you follow up, and that they are certainly one of the first to know where the status of that particular case is. Thank you.
I do just want to add, especially with cases involving domestic violence, there's a circle of violence, and a lot of times when there's an arrest, the victim is very eager to prosecute. And with my experience in prosecuting those cases and in defending them, that attitude changes very quickly. And you need to get in touch with that victim the moment of the arrest as a coordinator, victim coordinator with the State's Attorney's Office. And it's important that you don't lose touch with them, because you can make contact initially, but literally days afterwards, they have gone back with the offender and you've lost their cooperation. So it is important that the victim counselors are trained to make initial contact, but to retain that contact throughout the process of that case. And again, no case will be resolved without input from the victim.
One last question before we go to the closing statement. You know, we talked a lot in the last session about money and budgets. So each of you give me your take on the state's attorney's budget. Is it too little, too much, or just the right amount? What would you do with the budget? Anything in particular? Louise, we'll start with you.
Well, I guess like all of us, we would all like more money and we'd all like a bigger budget. But having said that, we have to work with the county board. We have to work with the money that we are given. I think that the state's attorney's office currently does a good job in managing the budget. There are a couple things that we do that I think enhances a lot of what we do. For example, we do a lot of forfeitures. So obviously criminals that are in trouble, we can forfeit their cars, their money, their homes. That does supplement a lot of what our expenses are. We can continue to seek out federal and state grants in a lot of different areas, the domestic violence, some of the driving issues, driving under the influence of alcohol. We've had some federal grants for that. So that has helped us with our budget. In a perfect world, are there more things we could do if we had more money? Sure. But that's not what we're given. And I think right now, given the economic climate, the board has been very generous. And I'm confident, I'm getting to one minute. I am confident that I can work with the county board. I think that it's a realistic budget this year, and I'm confident that I can work with it.
On this issue, I think one of the things that has to be addressed is everyone has a complete understanding now that law enforcement, the different villages, their budgets are shrinking, and there's a lot of stress there. So for instance, in the village of Gurnee, we're certified to have 68 officers. We're down to 62 officers. The city of Waukegan had 172 officers, are now down to 132 officers. One of the things that this office can do is revamp an intergovernmental agreement that really coordinates efforts between the local law enforcement. And I can tell you that I've worked on for the Major Crime Task Force, and it has to be reworked. And so that can be a way that there can be some efficiencies that can be realized throughout the county, and yet does not jeopardize the protection that has to be provided to all of our residents. And so in terms of the budget itself, we know that budgets aren't going to be increasing, they're going to be diminishing. And so you have to be more efficient, and that's something that I alluded to. We have to have some metrics within the office so that we can assess the performance of the folks in the office and making sure that they're in the right slot so that they can be most effective. And that's something that we can make sure that office is operated within budget. Thank you.
Again, as a small business owner, I know what it's like, as you all do, to work within a budget. My staff and my employees get paid before I do, and that's how we all live. And the budget isn't going to be increased. We're going to have to make do with what we have, or perhaps even less. And as Louise indicated, there are programs through the federal government by way of grants. I would employ full-time grant writers in the state's attorney's office who would do nothing but apply for grants. There is money available through the U.S. Attorney's Office. You just have to know how to ask for it. And I would have people that simply that's all they do. And they would also provide that grant writing assistance to local law enforcement agencies to help them receive some federal funding for their programs. Also, there is currently millions of dollars owed to the county from criminals. People who have either been found guilty or pled guilty, agreed to pay fines and court costs, and they don't pay them. We currently farm out a collection agency to go after that debt. I think some of that can be handled in-house, saving money. There's programs through the state of Illinois where they will take money directly out of somebody's tax return. So again, these are people that owe money. They shouldn't be getting a tax return. These are criminals that owe us money. Also, the forfeiture laws take money from the criminals. And finally, there is 10 very qualified, experienced civil attorneys in the state's attorney's office that handle a variety of civil cases. And yet, we farm out a lot of civil work, spending hundreds of thousands of dollars out of the state's attorney's office budget for civil attorneys. A lot of that work should and can be handled in-house. Again, either reducing the budget or allowing that money to be spent on prosecutors to fight gangs and drugs and violent crimes.
Louise, would you like 1 minute? Okay, great. All right, this is again, lightning round, the home stretch. We'll lead off with Bryan and a 2-minute closing.
Well, I thank you for coming out tonight to learn about this very important office, and I hope that you've learned a little bit more about the office. It is very important that all the residents have a complete understanding of just how significant this office can be. I think more recently, prosecutorial discretion has been splashed in the headlines. You know, should cases be charged or not? And I would submit to you that instead of playing the what-if game, you have to look at the candidates and say, look, we can't go through every scenario and ask the candidates, what would you do under this circumstance or that circumstance? But what you can do, understanding that we're not going to Springfield to vote yes, no, or present, we're going to be presiding over an office, is to analyze the background of each of the candidates for this position. And in that regard, I will tell you that over the last 27 years, the diversity of practice that included being a local prosecutor, but has also included handling declaratory judgment action cases where you're arguing over or litigating over the provisions of an insurance policy. That's very important to have that diversity, to be able to understand collective bargaining when you're dealing with the county's unions, to understand the employment issues that come up, and to make sure that the attorneys in your office are able to confront those particular issues. And as a result, I would ask that you consider my experience, the fact that I've actually served as a chief legal officer for municipalities, and based on that, I would ask for your vote come March 20th. Thank you very much.
Again, the job of the state's attorney, you are the chief law enforcement officer for the county. You are first and foremost the prosecutor. I have the civil experience, I have the defense experience, I have the municipal experience. But I have been more than a municipal prosecutor. I have tried felony cases. I have tried rape and murder cases. I have the respect of the state's attorneys that work in that office and the law enforcement community. When people come to me as state's attorney with questions, I will have answers. I will be able to speak from experience and lead by example. The state's attorney's office, as you have read, has taken a hit in terms of their reputation on a national level. The national media, the appellate courts, the Chicago Tribune, the reputation of that office has been damaged. And whether it's justified or not is a separate issue. And in fact, I think a lot of the criticism is not justified. But the fact of the matter remains, the reputation has been damaged. It is going to take somebody from outside of the office, but also somebody with prosecution and leadership experience to come in and restore the reputation of that great office. And I believe that person is me. I am proud of the endorsements that I have, and I think if you look at the endorsements, they say something. I have the endorsement of the FOP of the Lake County Sheriff's Department, local law enforcement. I have the endorsement of federal prosecutors, Sam Skinner, former White House Chief of Staff. I have the endorsement of retired judges. I have the endorsement of defense attorneys and other prosecutors and business owners. There is a diverse group of people supporting me, because the prosecutor's job is not merely to seek convictions, but to seek justice, and that will be my charge. Thank you.
Louise.
Thanks for having me out here, and on a cold night, 4 degrees out there, thanks so much for sticking it out. I have never been a criminal defense attorney. I have never been a village prosecutor. I haven't done divorce work, and I haven't done anything else other than having been a criminal prosecutor. And as Mike said, this job is about being the top prosecutor, the top law enforcement prosecutor for Lake County. I have spent 20 years knowing what our office does inside and out, talking with victims, talking with law enforcement, because that's what you do as a prosecutor. I have the most and the best experience to run this office. I know the problems that we have, and as Mike alluded to them in the paper, I know how we're going to fix them. I have a lot of experience. I feel as though I have relevant experience. Some things that have been said up here about what we should do or could do in our office amazes me, because we are doing them. And if you work in our office, you know what we do. You know that the victim counselors reach out before we even get to bond court, and we are talking with them. I am going to be able to hit the ground running. It is not going to be a learning curve for me. I'm not going to have to find out who does what in our office. I cannot emphasize enough how important being a prosecutor and having that experience is when you are leading people in the office. I have done trials. I started out, as I told you, in traffic, misdemeanor, went to felony, did all those. And I recognize that some of our younger attorneys might have been in junior high when I was doing this. Raising my 4 children, graduating from Stevenson High School, going to Purdue, getting my law degree, I have spent my life protecting this community, and I have loved this job. I didn't leave the office to go and do something else, because this is what I do, and this is what I am passionate about. And when I talk to voters, voters want to know that the top prosecutor, that's what you do. You prosecute people. I really hope you come out and vote, and thank you so much. I know it's a cold night. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Louise. How about a round of applause for all of us? I said it before, I'll say it again. A couple dates to remember. February 9th, the first day to request a mail ballot. Early voting, February 27th to March 15th. And March 20th, Tuesday, is the general primary election. Not that far away. Research your candidates. You've got an opportunity. There's a lot of candidates here tonight. If they'll stick around for a few minutes, if you've got any questions for them, maybe you can ask them some one-on-ones. I'd like to thank you all for coming out tonight. And I would be remiss if I did not recognize Parker Yo. Parker, please stand up. This is our time to meet our Antioch Township Office. You did a great job. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, candidates.